Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here.
So nice to have you once more. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the Wheel of the Year.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about it actually from in general, but from an astrological point of view and from a goddess point of view, because we can.
Right.
So that's going to be slightly different to regular Wheel of the Year people's chats.
Right.
So
we should caveat right off the bat, we are not Wheel of the Year experts in that sense.
No.
We're not Wiccans per se. We
Nope.
know that there is a thriving and many centuries long tradition that we are just dipping our toes into sort of reimagining on our own.
Yes, we're using artistic license at this point.
Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason we're talking about Wheel of the Year is because we're coming, this is going out on December the 19th, and the wheel actually begins on December the 21st at the actual when the
winter solstice.
The winter solstice when the sun enters Capricorn.
Yeah.
And so it seemed a good time, is it apropos, to actually do a Wheel of the Year talk at this point and bring a little bit of the ideas of how Arwynne and I are using this concept in our own work as well.
Yeah.
So basically, for those of you who do not know, the Wheel of the Year is the solar year divided into 8 specific sections.
Right.
There are 4 quarter days, which we'll get to in a moment, and there are 4 cross-quarter days. And each of these 4 and 4 create the start points of the 8 festivals that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, and most people have probably heard of the summer solstice, the winter solstice, and the spring and fall equinoxes. We know about those because they
We're
mark
good astrologers.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and also they're the longest and the shortest day of the year. Those would be the solstices, and then the equinoxes are the days when the day and night are equal in the spring and in the fall, and they roughly correspond with when we do our daylight savings time. Unfortunately, still in this country. Yes.
I don't know, because I noticed that Europe does it a week before us, so I don't know why that is.
Every time I'm like, why are we still doing this? But anyway, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then those are the 4 main, the pillar kind of ones at the cross, they're
the quarter days.
Yeah. And those also begin a different season. So the summer solstice starts summer.
Yes.
There's a winter solstice starts winter, and so on. And then the quarter ones, or the cross ones,
the cross quarter days,
are in between those.
They're in between the two. Yeah. So the quarter days, the main quarter days, as you said, you've got the 2 solstices and we've got the 2 equinoxes, and this is when the sun astrologically enters a cardinal sign.
Yes. Yeah.
So at December 21. The sun is going to enter Capricorn, a cardinal sign, starting, and that is our first quarter day.
Right. Shortest day of the year, beginning of Capricorn, beginning of winter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the whole season of winter will cover 2 festivals till the actual next equinox. So the equinox will occur in March 21 when the sun enters Aries. And then we've got the 2 more festivals. We'll get to them in a minute. Then at the summer solstice, when the sun enters Cancer, we then get the summer season, and there's 2 festivals there. And then when at the next equinox, autumnal equinox, as the sun enters Libra, that starts the autumn.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you're in the southern hemisphere and you're living in Johannesburg, and Sarah, I'm talking to you, and you just swap the 2 round.
Yeah.
But we are northern hemisphere centric, so we're going to be talking about our perspective here.
Yeah.
So you got it now. You've got your 4 quarter days. That's when the sun enters 0 degrees cardinal signs, and this is the technical beginning of the season. So you will see it on the news, on the Canadian news, they'll say, spring's beginning on March the 21st at 3:27 p.m. And the reason is because that's when the sun is entering Aries.
Yeah.
So there is a subtlety there. And then when the sun gets to 15 degrees of any fixed sign, those are the cross quarter days.
Right. And we will, as we go through these different festivals, we will give an actual date for each of these as well.
We will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the idea is that it depends who you are. And sometimes I've got a diagram. I'll click through to the blog post, and I've got the diagram there. And we are going anti-clockwise because we are astrologers, and we're flowing with the actual signs. So as the sun enters Capricorn, winter will be Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and then that will cover the first 2 festivals, and so on. Whereas some people who do the Wheel of the Year, they do it clockwise, I suppose because they're going with the clocks. But as astrologically, which is what we're trying to talk about, it's as the sun is in these positions in the solar year. Are we making ourselves clear here, Arwynne, or should we have to say all that again?
No, that's very clear. But just full disclosure, I have also done a blog post because I chose a goddess for each of the festivals. If anyone is new to the podcast or somehow missed this in all of our conversations, I do badass goddess art, and so I've chosen a goddess for each of these festivals, and I did not go anti-clockwise, counterclockwise. I went clockwise.
Oh, you did? Okay, well, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, but I can skip around. We'll go with your thing. But if anyone goes to the blog post, they'll be like, wait, they're out of order. No, I just went it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
but we'll go with your order.
There's a subtlety there. Okay. That'll be it. I didn't realize that. That's super interesting. Yeah. And you know what? It doesn't really matter. You do you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone is going through time in the same way. We'll just.
Yes.
Exactly.
So on the blog post, there is actually a link right here to Miss Fink's article about it. And you can see exactly when she's got the art there, which we're going to be discussing now.
Awesome.
And for each of the 8 festivals that we're going to be chatting about.
Yeah.
So the point is that it is the sun that is marking the time in the solar year. As the sun is moving through, it starts, and this is why the solar year starts on December the 21st. So clearly in 2025, it would be December the 21st, and there's a week, and then we're technically into 2026. But this is the beginning point. This is the midwinter moment.
Yeah.
And it's the point of, it's the turning point of when things to start technically to warm up, because the sun is actually now got to its furthest most south point, and it's going to start moving up and warm things up again.
Yes, absolutely.
So you don't just necessarily start anywhere in the year. The idea is that is the point of conception as well, if you were talking about it in those ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yes. So let's just have a look at, in general, the festivals as they pop up, and you follow along as.
Absolutely.
And of course, we're doing it this way, but you can do it any way you like. So with the first, at the midwinter solstice, it's going to be Yule.
Yeah.
And of course, this is a Christmas thing as well. You've got the Yule log, which apparently used to be a bloody great tree, and they'd shove it into the fireplace. And during Yule, they'd just keep shoving it in, and the fire would burn because it was a whole tree that got burnt in the fireplace. But in the fireplace it was just one end of the tree was burning, and they kept shoving it into the fireplace.
It's like the Burning Man festival, but in reverse.
Yeah.
Nothing for the ancients.
Imagine you chop down a tree, and you just, once you got the fire lit, you want to keep it going.
Wow.
And of course, now you get a Yule log, which is like a chocolate Swiss roll cake with chocolate on, and it's got some holly on it, and that's a Yule log. But this is symbolically this great big tree that they're trying to warm up everything with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is when the sun reaches its highest declination of 23.5 degrees, and it enters Capricorn. And then it starts moving back towards the equator. So this is when Yule is. And it's basically, each of these festivals is 6 weeks long.
Yeah.
So these are super duper handy dandy little chunks of time.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as the sun enters Capricorn, it's known as the Capricorn ingress, when the winter season begins. And the pagan celebration of Yuletide is celebrated on Midwinter's Day. Now, do you have a
I do.
goddess for us for Yule?
So I love the symbolism of Yule. It's the winter solstice. It's the just shortest day of the year, and it's the time that we celebrate the rebirth of the sun and the return of the light, because the days begin to get longer. It's never going to be as dark and as desolate as it is on that day, even though we're beginning winter in the northern hemisphere, and we do have 3 more months of winter. But at least the days are beginning to get longer. And the themes include introspection, family, hope, renewal, and the emergence of light from the darkness. So for this, I chose the goddess Nana Buluku.
Whoa, do you want to run that past us a second time?
Nana, that's Nana, Buluku. She's the primordial mother of the universe in the ancient mythological tradition of the Faun people of West Africa.
Wow.
Yes, she embodies the deep, and also there are a few other peoples of West Africa, ancient peoples who also have her as their primordial mother, and she embodies the deep, quiet mystery at the origin of everything. And at Yule, when the sun is reborn, she represents the great stillness of the womb of creation and the infinite possibilities that are present in the moment before life emerges.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it's very interesting, because at the point when the sun enters Capricorn, we've gone from the balsamic phase, which is technically lying fallow, to the conception, the germination, the turning point. And this is where she's represented.
Yeah, it's almost like the Big Bang, that
it really is. It's
creation.
The conception point of the whole year.
Yeah, I love that.
Fantastic. That's a very interesting. And I have to say, I've never heard of her.
No, actually, I hadn't either until my Inktober challenge. And I had 31 goddesses that good old ChatGPT helped me to generate.
Of course,
just because not the art. Oh my gosh, no, don't get me wrong. But helped me generate the writing, the drawing prompts. Okay. Because there's only so much time in the day to be researching all the mythologies of the world. Mm-hmm. And I asked it to help me find a list of 31. Different goddesses from all over the world, and it was very helpful in doing that. But I hadn't heard of most of them.
That's super interesting, because very often we've only really heard of the Greek goddesses.
Yeah, everyone knows that. Aphrodite, Venus. Those, and so it's wonderful, I think, to delve into these really not obscure, but just we don't know about them in the Western world. Often.
And in 2025, this is we need to broaden our outlook on these 100%. Things.
I'm very much about just finding inclusion. Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And if you're listening along, you can always, as you go to the blog post, you can find this on my blog, mispink.net. It's called the Wheel of the Year as well. Yes. So if you're not linking through and you're just looking for it that way, you can always find it, and then you can see all the art. Yeah,
absolutely do. And we'll put the links below in the podcast for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
So then the next festival we have is the Festival of Imbolc. And this is when the sun gets to halfway through a fixed sign. And in this case, it's Aquarius. So the sun is now at 15 degrees Aquarius. So typically this actually occurs on February the 8th, but often they have this celebration on February the 1st. Mm-hmm. And the one symbol for Imbolc is, I know it's Brigitte's cross, made with wheat sheaves and corn dollies.
Yeah,
I don't know where you stand on those for Imbolc.
Yeah, well, Saint Brigitte is the patron goddess of horses, poetry, healing, and smithing. Smithing.
Oh, smithing.
Being a blacksmith.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, smithing.
That's a job.
A multifaceted goddess. She's represents a bunch of different things, and she is very much the traditional goddess who is already associated with this festival.
Okay,
so I chose to not mess with tradition.
Oh, but so you also have Brigitte. You've got art for Brigitte. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a time of new beginnings. And
can you tell us a little more about her?
I 100% can. Yeah. So the themes of this festival, it's because the first stirrings of life begin beneath the frozen soil. It's not the beginning of spring, but it is that time where you start to think, okay, spring may actually come.
Yes.
We've come out of the darkness of the winter, and this is that first festival where it's like, okay, there's an end to the winter. Eventually we will.
The melt starts.
The melting starts. Mm. So the themes include inspiration, fertility, cleansing, creativity, and preparation. And as such, the goddess Brigitte, who was syncretized with the Christian Saint Brigitte of Kildare, which is why they've kind of been merged, but she was also an ancient goddess in the Celtic tradition, and she shares many of the modern goddesses' same pastoral, fiery, and healing attributes. She's often considered a triple goddess, which the Irish are very big on triple goddesses. You may think of the Morrigan, who was the battle goddess. But this is sort of the opposite of that. She is the goddess of poetry, the goddess of healing, and the goddess of smithing. So there's sort of this arts and crafts and poetic and artistic and wonderful sort of sense. So we celebrate Brigitte at the Imbolc Festival for her qualities of protection and purification. It's a fire festival, so we light the hearth and we feast in celebration of the renewal represented by the coming of spring, having survived another winter.
Wow!
Yeah.
Now, in the liturgical calendar, this is also known as Candlemas.
Yes, totally.
And that was because what they are saying there is that if we go back to the Yule at the beginning of the point, that was the birth of Christ, and then 40 days after that, Mary technically was cleansed and could only then go back into the church, because you can't go back into the church if you're not cleansed. I know.
My goodness.
So that's what the celebration of Candlemas is actually about. And
It's
that is
because
also,
Mary could actually come out of the
well, they're not allowed, well,
hut.
in general, even today, they're not allowed back in the church after a birth. But anyway,
wow.
so all of these are ancient.
And they've been repurposed and readopted
Yes.
as times have changed, and the ancient things got sort of, reabsorbed or syncretized, as the case may be, into new festivals. And here we are.
We like celebrating them now. And even astrologically, as we're talking here in
100%.
2025, these are great festivals because they're markers of the sun's passage through the zodiac.
Yeah,
this is what I like
never
about
changes.
it.
That is the thing that's
Exactly.
an absolute constant.
And it's interesting that when on these cross-quarter days, it's always 15 degrees of the fixed signs.
Yeah.
And then the quarter days are always the entry to the cardinal signs. And there's a lot to be said for what all of that means as well. Interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so then moving on. So the next one we have is Ostara, and this is at the spring equinox, also known as the vernal equinox.
Yeah.
So this occurs around March 21st as the sun crosses the celestial equator at 0 degrees Aries, moving north for 3 months. It is the Aries ingress, and this is springtime in the Northern Hemisphere. The pagan celebration of Ostara is aligned with the equinox when day and night are the same length-ish, if you live on the equator, technically. Yeah. But in general, yes. Yeah. And this Ostara is the egg.
Yeah, like Easter.
Exactly. So we're looking March 21st, and Easter could be any time around there, and this is the symbol of it, and the egg is the symbol of the new birth.
Right.
And it is at this time of the year, when I understand it, that lambs are being born and springing into life. And what do we know about farms, Arwynne?
No, okay, I don't. But I haven't had gone on a digression yet this entire time. But one of my absolute favorite burlesque dancers, who is from Vancouver, and she's also a B-movie queen in certain circles. Her name is Tristan Risk, and otherwise known as Little Miss Risk. And she is all over all my calendars. Like, I've drawn her so many times. And even now that she's moved away to New Zealand, which you'll see where this is actually coming around to having a point, I just go on her Instagram and I will constantly find like inspiration for drawings, even though she's moved away. And I used to see her in person and draw her, and now I just have to settle for her Instagram. But she now lives in New Zealand, where she has a farm where she tends lambs. Grow lambs. How do you say that? You breed lambs, I suppose.
Breed lambs.
And one of her recent Instagram reels was brand new lambs, first lambs of the season. And there were these two, like, just painfully adorable little itty bitty lambs, just like running around on the hillside of this wonderful pastoral New Zealand mountainside. And there. Yeah.
And that would have been at our autumn, you see.
Yes, exactly. Our autumn, their spring.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So
and this
amazing.
is the sign of life. And this is, back in the day when we all lived on farms, these days were important because the lambs are coming.
100%. She was so excited. Oh my God, the first lambs of the season.
I'm sure.
Like,
it's
what?
life.
Yeah.
Amazing. Life will find a way. Hey?
Yeah.
Super interesting.
And if you're ever having a bad day, just Google like lambs and just watch lambs frolicking, or baby goats. That's always yeah.
And do we have a goddess for Ostara?
Oh, hell yes, we do. Ooh. Yeah. And I kind of went a little off the because anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I've chosen a good one. So so Ostara is celebrated by planting seeds, collecting flowers and eggs, or painting them and hiding them for Easter, as the case may be. It's one of the most hopeful times of the year, when life is bursting forth from the earth and everything seems possible in the light of the lengthening days. So I've chosen the goddess Anya, which is spelled A-I-N-E, counterintuitively, but yet another Irish goddess. And she's the goddess of summer, so a little bit off of the wheel of the time. But the themes that she represents are absolutely perfect for this for Ostara. She represents sovereignty, fertility, and love, and she's usually associated with midsummer. But I've chosen to put her here. Fantastic. She symbolizes joy, sensuality, and the power of self-possession, whether over the lands that you're harvesting, over what you're reaping as in terms of physical rewards, or that sovereignty that we all have over our own bodies and minds, and the ability to love and live as we wish.
That's so interesting. So
Yeah,
interesting.
it's very hopeful and optimistic.
Yeah, it's
Wonderful
a
time.
great time, isn't it? As that
Yeah.
sun starts really warming up the land. Yeah.
Totally. We get to go outside and roller skate again.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. And the next one we have is Beltane.
Yeah.
So the pagan festival of Beltane is the day the sun reaches 50 degrees of Taurus. This is often celebrated on May the 1st as May Day, but
Yeah.
often astrologically it will actually occur on May the 6th or 7th. But we're not going to split hairs. But if you're in astrology, you need to know that there is license here. And even when I was a kid, May Day, we had a maypole in the village. And the May, you were able to go and do the ribbon thing.
Yeah.
And they would have like 50 ribbons, and you had to, because our village school probably had 50 kids in it, and we were able to weave down this whole maypole thing, which was just a whole load of hoo-ha at the time. But that is Beltane, and that was May Day.
Amazing.
So it's a great time. It's a time when the crops are really coming through now. The lambs are really strongly, they're not just knock kneed in the field. They are getting strong. They're building up. You could see the potential in the harvest to come if all these lambs live and all these crops grow, we're going to make it through another winter. And this is the important thing.
Totally. Yeah.
What do you have for us for Beltane?
Well, Beltane is a fiery festival of passion and love. It's a wild celebration of the sacred aspects of physical union, fertility, creation, and abundance. It's the midpoint between spring and the spring equinox and the beginning of summer. So it's a time of beginnings and unions. And therefore, the themes include love, joy, dancing, fruitful unions, and creative energy, an ecstatic ode to all that is fertile and blooming in the natural world around us and within ourselves. So I have chosen the goddess Pombagira, who is, that's spelled Gira, Pombagira. She is an Afro-Brazilian sacred harlot. She's also known as the Queen of the Crossroads, and she always wears red. She wears like a bright red sort of bustier and a long skirt and black gloves and lots of silver jewelry. And she's very, very sensual,
alive,
just gorgeous and big fluffy hair. And she's the powerful protector and a symbol of feminine power, and she's associated with lust, love, fertility, and independence. Her sexuality is her own, given only on her own terms, and that makes her the patroness of female empowerment. Wow. And at Beltane, we can celebrate her because she represents the power of embodied desire, the ecstasy of being wildly alive. And as all of nature is bursting with life and the power of procreation, she invites us to dance in the firelight with her and give ourselves over to whatever happens next.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think, too, a lot of brides get married in spring because we're all getting frisky, aren't we?
Getting frisky and wanting to have a beautiful wedding day with blue sky and warm weather where people can dance and let loose, and you throw the bouquet and whoever catches it is next. And it's all about just carrying on the species. And
it really is. It's the cycle of life. It really, really is.
Yeah.
So interesting. What was that goddess's name again?
Pombagira. She's actually a spirit, but it's okay. She's the sacred harlot of the Brazilian tradition.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Great. Okay, and then moving on, then we get to the midsummer solstice. So now we have Litha. So around June 21, the sun reaches its highest declination at about 23.5 degrees north, and it enters Cancer at 0 degrees. Now the sun moves back towards the celestial equator for 3 months. The Cancer ingress heralds summer, and the pagan celebration of Litha is on the Midsummer's Day, which is the longest day of the year and the day with the most sunlight.
Yeah.
So it's the beginning of summer for us in the Northern Hemisphere, and we know Stonehenge, they stay up all night to watch the sun rising on Midsummer's Day. Yeah. It's huge, isn't it? It's huge. The sun's entering Cancer.
Yeah. It's a great day. It's a wonderful day. Yeah. Yeah, and the themes include abundance, gratitude, and the fullness of life and the joy of being outside in nature. It's a nature festival. So there are celebrations of bonfires, dancing, feasting, anything outdoors that includes like physical activity and just in the time-honored tradition of sun worshiping. and being out in nature.
Celebrating that we're making it through another year.
Yeah, exactly. It's the peak of the year.
Yeah.
Really.
The highlight. Yeah.
The highlight. Exactly. Yeah. So, of course, the goddess that I've chosen for this one is Aurora, the Roman goddess of dawn.
Wow.
She's the equivalent to the Greek goddess Eos, who is the personification of the morning light. She represents optimism, renewal, beginnings, and the fiery life-giving power of the sun. So at Litha, we celebrate Aurora by going outside and giving ourselves over completely to the glory of our solar deity, without whose light there would be no life on Earth. And all human life, all plants that need photosynthesis, the animals that graze on the plants, and their flesh sustains us. And there's no better way to honor the goddess than by turning our faces upwards and receiving her warming rays.
Wow, fantastic! That's a great one. Yeah. It's a great time of the year, especially for us in the Northern Hemisphere. Absolutely is. Absolutely. So that's Litha, yeah. And then we're moving on. So our next festival is Lammas. And this is as the sun reaches 15 degrees of Leo, which is typically on August the 8th. It's the cross-quarter day of Lammas. However, the pagan celebration of Lammas is usually held on August the 1st. Now, Lammas is, I know, when they bake the first bread from the first wheat that is harvested from the early crop.
Yeah.
And the Lammas loaf is actually made from that very first cutting of the wheat. And it's the sweetest, most juiciest.
Yeah.
And it's really the first bread people have had for a while.
Yeah, totally. So there's this symbolism of the scythe and that first harvest, that first crop. It's also if you don't recognize the name and you're thinking about the traditional name, that would be Lunasa, which is spelled. It's a very
tricky Irish name, yes.
Gaelic with lots of
Gaelic
extra consonant. Gaelic, yeah. So it is pronounced Lunasa.
Go you, Arwynne.
Yeah,
that's why I just said Lammas.
That one up. Yeah. Exactly. But it is a harvest, and it's about reaping what we've planted and preparing for times of austerity, but we're nowhere near the austerity. It's just all about sacrifice, gratitude, giving and receiving. It may seem like the start of August is, the peak of summer, the good times are going to last forever, but that's an illusion. And we all know it's not true. And the reason that we, reap and harvest things is so that we can last through the winter again.
Yeah.
And the days are already beginning to get shorter in August.
Already. Even
though it's the peak of summer in the Northern Hemisphere, we know that we need to store away reserves so that we can survive another winter.
Yeah. But this is the time when they get that first bread that you can only get good bread when you've got fresh wheat. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's just ho-hum bread, right?
Right.
But it's a great thing we all know if you go to a bakery and they've got a freshly baked loaf, it's the best bread.
Yeah.
And it's also an indication that the good times are coming. And even the symbolism is actually a loaf of bread.
Oh,
so
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important that bread as a symbol of going to make it through the winter.
Yeah.
And of course, these days we're so out of touch. We just go down to
that cycle. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So that is Lammas. That is great.
So the goddess I've selected for Lammas or for Lunasa is Chinnamasta. And this is a Hindu goddess, the self-decapitating Hindu goddess of paradox. She symbolizes the lessons that harvest and sacrifice are intertwined. Just as we must reap the grain to feed our communities over the long winter, everything in life is about balancing sacrifice with sustenance. In the immortal words of Jane's Addiction, one must eat the other. And life feeds life. Death is just a part of the cycle. And this goddess is literally decapitating herself and then feeding on her own blood in a constant stream of sacrifice and sustenance. So this is very symbolic, obviously. And, sacrifice, anytime we gain something, we are sacrificing something. We sacrifice our freedom and our finances to raise children. We donate our time and our resources to help those who can't help themselves, all in the name of the greater good so that we can sustain our communities. And even enlightenment or education for ourselves is a sacrifice of our own time, attention, money, and honoring that intellect or our spirituality and feeding something by sacrificing something else. And the blade may be cutting through ignorance. It could be
interesting.
Slicing the ignorance to feed the nourishment of knowledge and enlightenment. So attaining wisdom and anything involves pain, but it's temporary, and we nourish ourselves and uplift ourselves so that we can uplift others. Yeah.
Sorry, and what was her name again?
Chinnamasta.
Fantastic.
self-decapitating Hindu goddess of paradox.
Wow.
What a mouthful.
Arwynne, you can pick
Right.
it. You can pick them. I got to say, you can pick them.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one, yeah. And then moving on, our next festival is Mabon.
Yeah.
So this is at the autumnal equinox as the sun enters Libra, and at the cardinal sign of Libra, we get Mabon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much information about that one.
Well, it is at the autumn equinox.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of fall in the Northern Hemisphere. It's a time of reflection, of letting go what's no longer needed, and setting intentions for the future. Themes for this festival include, well, the day and the night are equal, obviously, at the equinox. Themes include gratitude, introspection, reflection, contemplation, meditation, and enjoying the bounty of nature before the change of the seasons and the austerity associated with the coming of winter begins. So it's
the harvest, right?
It's and the harvest is well underway at this point, and we are basically honoring all of those things that the plenty of the summer and the plenty of the harvest, but understanding that we are well on our way towards the colder months and the winter, and winter is coming. Yes. Winter is coming, as they say. So I've chosen for this one.
Well, it's autumn, isn't it? Right?
It's autumn, exactly. Mm-hmm. I've chosen the goddess Demeter, who is the Roman goddess of grain and the harvest.
Now, isn't that Mars's? No? Okay.
No, but she is analogous to Ceres in Greek, the grain goddess, and that's where we get the word cereal. And she was the mother of Persephone. So you may remember the story of Persephone. The daughter of Demeter was abducted by Hades, the lord of the underworld, and Demeter was so angry by the abduction of her daughter that she cast the world into darkness, and all the crops failed. And in her grief, the world was suffering and starving.
Wow.
And eventually all the gods came together and brokered a deal, and Persephone was returned to her mother for half the year, which symbolizes the renewal of spring and the abundance of summer. But then in the fall and winter, the crops fail, and we go through a period of grieving, because that's when Persephone is in Hades and in the underworld, as living a life as the goddess of the underworld. To be fair, she's not just this shrinking wallflower. Yeah, but it represents sacrifice and loss. And we honor the sacrifice of Demeter, who provides for us in abundance in spring and summer. And but life is not all feasting and youthful innocence, and we must prepare for hard times and cold seasons and inevitable change.
Wow.
Yeah,
super interesting. That's a great goddess for Mabon. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So then we actually come to our final festival, which is I'm not going to say it right because
it's Samhain.
Samhain.
Yeah.
And so this pagan festival of Samhain is when the sun passes over 15 degrees of Scorpio, which is around November the 8th. But in general, this special day is usually celebrated on October 31st as Halloween.
Yay.
And All Saints' Days follows on November the 1st.
Yeah. And Dia de los Muertos in Latin America. The Day of the Dead.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Totally. So we've got this is our final festival where we are coming to the absolute end. It's the second festival of autumn, and we're definitely into like the balsamic phase at this point where things are dying.
Yeah. Things are.
And Halloween fits right in there, doesn't it?
It does. It's the beginning of winter, and it's the time when the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest. We are reminded that everything in nature dies, and we have chosen as modern pagans or modern just candy crazed children and adults who love to dress up as sexy vampires or whatever, and send our kids packing off to beg for candy from the neighbors. But the themes of this ancient and modern festival include death, transformation, endings, beginnings, and indulging in the thrill of being afraid in small doses. This is, I think, what the modern Halloween has to tell us, that is also echoing across the centuries. And in contrast with the overwhelming existential dread that can pervade our everyday lives, this is a time where we can dwell on the thrill of being afraid, or the encapsulated little death that we can kind of honor and it enables us to go on and not
symbolically. Yeah.
Symbolically, exactly. Because inevitably everything dies, and we know that, but we can feel most alive when we're kind of courting a little relationship with death.
Because I know back in the day when the farmers were everyone was a farmer, this was the time of the slaughter of the animals that they could not take through the winter.
Yeah.
So they would slaughter them, drain them, and hang them. But only certain animals they would look after through the winter for the next season.
Right.
So if they have an excess of whatever, cows or pigs or chickens or whatever,
Yeah.
they would then do this slaughter. The death of Scorpio would come at this point, and the bloodletting.
Wow.
So
yeah.
because they couldn't afford to feed all the animals through the winter.
Harsh. It's like a reality show.
know.
You don't make the cut. Nope. You're not just off the show. You're hanging in
You didn't make, I mean, we don't live these lives anymore.
No, it's like, don't go in the barn. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because there's a hook hanging there for a reason.
Yeah.
And
yikes.
it's, but that's how we lived for centuries,
Right.
thousands of years.
And we've forgotten that, which is why I think Halloween has become so important in modern life, because we are so separated from that. And it's the one day where we can dress up in the most ghoulish, eccentric,
and
crazy
have blood
things,
running.
running. And everyone's like, oh, great costume. You're a zombie. Awesome. Whatever. Yeah.
But it was clearly a different time when, 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, when people were trying to get through the winter.
Yeah. And my gosh, like illness and dying in childbirth, these things were so
Huge.
prevalent, even into the last century, like even into the 20th century. That was the most common cause of death among women was childbirth until the 1950s even
the recent people who the immigrants who came to Canada 100 years ago, they couldn't make it through the winters. The first 3 winters they arrived, they all perished.
Oh my gosh.
Because they weren't prepared with the food, the cold, and the furs.
They thought they were coming to the new world, and it's like it's going to be a brand new start, and then it's like, oh no, winter.
Yes. But once you get the hang of winter in Canada, you you need that bear skin.
And you bet some animals were being slaughtered for. I mean, Canada was built on like the Hudson Bay Company was basically fur trading, beaver trading and bear pelts and all these things that kept people alive through the winter.
Well, that's the stripes on the Hudson Bay blankets. Each fourth stripe means 4 beaver pelts for that blankie.
Wow.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, okay. So, I mean, we could go on about Canadian lore, but and we really should one day. But,
I'm so glad we don't live in those days. I can still just walk down to the shop.
I know. And we could just watch the TV and be like, yikes, wow, that's
and isn't this around Thanksgiving too as well, or is that still coming?
That's still to come. Yeah. This is Halloween. But the goddess I've chosen for Halloween, and this time is Samhain, is the Manananggal. Manananggal. That's a lot of M's and A's and N's. Manananggal is a terrifying night demon from Filipino folklore. She separates her upper torso from her lower body and sprouts bat wings at night. She's a beautiful woman during the day, but she hunts at night, and her favorite prey is pregnant sleeping women. Like, what could be more nightmarish? She's the perfect symbol for this festival because she represents not only our deepest fears coming to stalk us at our most vulnerable, but she also encapsulates the duality of the season. She's a beautiful woman who transforms into something horrifically monstrous as soon as darkness descends. And it's very similar to the kind of the bat, not the bat, but what's the, like just vampire folklore where you can, if you find her,
you go to the dark.
If you find the lower body and you pour salt on it while she's separated, then that kills her. But otherwise, she's very hard
I
to
did
kill.
not know that.
Yeah. So I mean, who would know that?
Grief.
But as with all these festivals and their, costumed extravagance and lurid depictions of horror, they have deep roots in psychological and mythological rituals. And they exist for a reason. They're designed to return our sense of power in the face of the infinite and unknowable and terrifying. Because for most of our lives, we were stalked by predatory animals or taken down by diseases or simply didn't have birth control and died in childbirth at a very young
people were
age.
dying. Yes.
And we had to live with the bodies of the dead. I mean, this is something we don't think about now, but yeah, I mean, photos of this is so morbid, but people didn't take photos unless they were wealthy for the longest time when photography was first existing. And you'll see these pictures of families, and a lot of times the faces will be a bit blurry because it took minutes to focus the lens. And maybe one person in the frame will be in super perfect focus, that person is dead. That's why they took the picture, was to commemorate the death of a loved one. I know, but it's true. And so frequently you'll see these pictures where it's like there's a whole family gathered, there's one person in the middle, and they look, surprisingly peaceful and very crisp and in focus. Everyone else is just a tiny bit blurry. And that's because they had passed away, and was like, well, we must commemorate the death of our daughter or whatever it was. And we've never had a photo taken of the family, but this was the time to do it. So yeah, we don't have that now.
Well, we don't.
We're just in a selfie, whatever culture.
Wow.
And yeah, and that was 100 years ago. That was not that long ago.
Yeah.
Photography started in like the 1860s-ish.
Yeah.
This is like on the great timeline of humanity, not that long ago. So yeah, that's why we celebrate Halloween, is so we can inoculate ourselves against the terror of being alive, because there's a cultural memory that is not that long ago where, yeah.
Being dead was very much a thing, wasn't it? And you had your graves in the backyard on the farm.
Oh my gosh, right, exactly. Yeah.
We are so insulated from all of these things at the moment, aren't we?
We are.
The animals and the death and so on. And
so if you're ever tempted to think, oh, this frivolity and people doing zombies and sexy vampires, it's so silly. Well, it's got its roots in something very profound and deeply culturally relevant.
It's actually very interesting to kind of dig into. And there's way more to go on these things. I would encourage our listeners to explore this more. And maybe people who are listening know way more about the Wheel of the Year.
Oh, for sure.
But it's a very interesting way of marking time.
Yeah.
To do with it's the natural cycles, and it's the solar cycle. The sun is the main driver for all of this, and it's just so interesting. As the giver of life, there's this cycle that continues on of birth and death.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was really interesting for me going through the Wheel of the Year. This is not something that I generally mark, but it's you gave me an assignment, and I, as your trusty Virgo steed, you're second in command.
Good lieutenant.
Yeah, exactly. You're the Leo driving force, and I'm the Virgo number 2.
Well, I knew there had to be a goddess for each festival, but I didn't know what they were. And you know so much. You're the goddess expert.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was super fun to match them up. And as anyone who listens to the podcast knows, I do have lots of goddess stuff on my website. I'm also selling a 2026 calendar. So if you don't have a calendar yet and you want a wall calendar, full color goddess art,
original
art featuring a few of these little stories as well. They're about half of the goddesses that we talked about in the Wheel of the Year.
Okay. And they're all done by you?
All done by me, exactly. Anya, the Irish goddess of summer, she makes an appearance. So does the Mananangal. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. So,
and really, I think they're collector's pieces too, because the art lives on even when the calendar's kind of had its day.
I made it a little bigger this year too. Last year it was a little smaller. I did kind of life size, like with the size of my drawing sketchbook. And this year I kind of I made them 9 by 12, so it'll be very frameable, I think.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I think it's great that you are expressing your goddess art through these calendars, because it makes it accessible for people such as our listeners to pick up some of your art at not totally. a great
it's okay. So here's another little cute digression. This happened because we're recording this podcast obviously a couple weeks in advance of when it goes out. But I got my calendars back from the printers last week, and of course I immediately go down to the local pub where
you should have brought one. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah,
I will.
Okay, I hear you.
Coming. But yeah, so I took them down to the local pub, which is Relish. A little shout out if you're living in Vancouver, Relish the pub, 888 Nelson. But a couple of people who, I've known them, but I didn't know them last year, so they've not seen the calendar. And a couple of people immediately were like, "Okay, I'm buying 2. I'm buying 1." Like, the host and the server there, they immediately, were like, "Okay, where's mine?" But a couple guys at the bar, and as my mother was visiting this past weekend as well, and she just was sitting back in awe, because like some of the people who are interested in this stuff do not look like the people, and not to, we don't stereotype, but yet if a guy just looks like, like an older lumberjack kind of guy, and he's wearing a big, checkered thing, and he's kind of sitting at the bar like he's lived there all his life, but you show him a goddess calendar, he's like, oh, this is exquisite, I'll take one. You're like,
and I think to be honest, when people want to support you, it's so nice to know the artist.
It's real art. Yeah, for sure. And so many people will tell me, like, even all throughout this year, people who bought the calendar last year, and they'll say, I don't look all month. I let myself, be surprised. I didn't look at the calendar when I first bought it, and I turned the page, and then it's that month, and I get to read all about it and see the new artwork, and I find it really charming and wonderful. And some people have even sent me photos of where they have it hanging in their apartment.
Well, we must definitely, our listeners, if they get one of your calendars, they need to send you a photo of where it's hanging. Yeah,
I love to see if it's hanging.
And
right.
Is the art also available as independent art pieces on Redbubble or not yet?
Yes, some of it.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm constantly adding to my Redbubble shop. But yeah, if you go to misspink.net, you will see my Redbubble shop, and there's a ton of
that's Arwynne's art shop. Yeah,
exactly. And you can get it on T-shirts and iPhone cases. And
so I know you've been doing goddesses for several years now, and we're really building up you're building up your catalogue of goddesses, and honestly, to my mind, you really need to be doing this 365 days of goddesses, and I see that book coming in the next couple of years as you develop your further art. So you've got your art and you've got your myth, and I think it would be an ideal thing to work towards that will celebrate your art and your goddesses and everything else.
As soon as I hit 365, that's the plan.
Well, I think it's brilliant. And I love your art. It's hanging in my kitchen. I can, as you know, it's and I've still got a piece somewhere of the previous art. I don't know where they are now, but I think it's great. And as I say, I do believe that people are happy to support artists they actually even know.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't. It's not something you'd be saying, "Gosh, I need a goddess calendar." But when it's presented to you think, "Gosh, I understand this," and I think our listeners can relate it back to this particular episode specifically, with many of the goddesses that we've mentioned this evening,
for sure,
showing up in your calendar.
Exactly. I always try to make them a bit relevant for the time of year. And also it's really neat for people when they open their birthday month and they see, oh, wow, that's the goddess for my birthday month. I've had a lot of people tell me, I love the goddess for my month or whatever, which is really delightful to hear.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Because then you would have 12, but with our Wheel of the Year, we've only got 8 goddesses because we're selecting it slightly differently for the meaning of the Wheel of the Year, which is super interesting. Yeah. And I always like the way that you have chosen across pantheons.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I have to say it, and it is so true.
It's so important. Yes. Because everyone knows a handful of Greek goddesses and Norse goddesses.
Athena and
the Valkyries and whatnot. But in every single culture in the world has some sort of mythology or folklore or stories of
a myth,
some spirit, some weird vampire creature who took children in the night, and these folklores existed for centuries and
still do.
Word of mouth and still do. And it's wonderful to be able to sort of bring them to life in my irreverent pinup girl style, whatever.
Fantastic. Yeah. In your very own unique style, Arwynne, as an original artist. Yes.
For sure.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
And this is just coming back in. And I forgot to tell you that we have a Wheel of the Year quack quack.
Which, if you're wondering what that is, as I would not have known, it's one of those little fortune thingies that you fold into a square, as you may have done in grade school, which I definitely did. And it's got words and colors, and you move it with your hands, and I'm doing it with my hands.
Quack, 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 quack.
Quack, 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 yeah.
So there is a link on the blog post, and there's actually a video about how the quack, quack works. And you can download my PDF and make your own quack quack at home. You can print it out in full color.
And then you can learn all about the festivals.
And you can learn all about the Wheel of the Year, 8 festivals from the Wheel of the Year quack quack that we created.
I love it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have been talking about the Wheel of the Year. We've been looking at the Wheel of the Year from an astrological viewpoint to actually mark out the solar cycles. Arwynne has been contributing her badass goddesses to each of the festivals as she sees fit. And we are very happy to work with the Wheel of the Year, both Arwynne and I, in the way we like to work with it. And it might be different how you do things, but I find it an interesting thing because I totally love the solar cycle. I love the sun cycle and how it shows what we're doing each year and how we need to be in tune with what the sun is up to and living in tune with this solar cycle. I think it's super interesting. And the fact that the wheel of the year, you can hang it straight off the solstices and equinoxes, I think it's great.
It's great. Yeah.
So if you have found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody who would be interested. Make sure you're getting our newsletter, and you can find that at starzology.com/newsletter. Additionally, make sure you're getting Arwynne's newsletter, and you can find her at...
I'm at minspink.net, mspink.net, and I send out my weekly newsletter every Saturday about goddesses, art, personal stories, and popular culture.
Fantastic, yeah. So to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us today on our special Wheel of the Year episode, and it's been great having you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer, or someone who's learning astrology, or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.